X. X is the movie that is getting the most attention nowadays. Why, you may ask? Because it's the latest A24 movie. You know A24 movies, right? However, it seems like lately A24 movies aren't getting better or outshining the ones that turned the company into a juggernaut. After The Lighthouse, A24 thriller or horror movies just haven't lived up to their hype. Saint Maud was okay, but lacked any long-lasting effect. False Positive seems to be shat on by everybody. Lamb deceived us all by being advertised as a horror, but it turned out to be a drama where not a lot happened, and the ending, it just kinda ended. So how does X measure up? It's better than Lamb, Saint Maud, and False Positive, but it's not as good as the great A24 movies. I'll go into the plot breakdown with minor details to not spoil too much, and then I'll do a deeper dive, and of course I'll timestamp it for you. The movie starts off with police examining a brutal crime scene, and then it jumps back 24 hours.
What? Oh, come on!
What is it gonna take? Like, seriously, why does this shit keep happening? Is it really so hard to create an attention-grabbing scene where the story starts? I may be being a bit dramatic here, but it seems so cheap to do this. Also, stop spoiling most of how the story ends. Anyways, we jump back and meet our cast, Maxine, or Freckles, getting ready for our main guy, Wayne, or Daddy, for her time to shine in a big motion picture. They drive off in a van called Plowing Service. In the van, we meet the rest of the cast and crew. There's Bobby Lynn, or Blondie, because Pitch Perfect doesn't work because she's no longer a ginger. And I know what you're all going to want to know, and the answer is yes. You do see her sing. There is also Lorraine, the sound girl, RJ, the cameraman, and Kid Cudi, and just to keep things PC, we will call him Horsecock. Why do they all have nicknames, you might ask? Are you seriously telling me that you remember lower tier porn actors' names?
Liar! Liar! Liar!
The gang heads to some rural property in Houston, Texas. The movie is set in 1979, you know, a much simpler time, and holy shit, gas is only 65 cents a gallon?
It's beautiful!
Anyways, while on the drive, they prep for the film they are going to shoot called The Farmer's Daughter. They get to the property and meet the owner, Howard, who is a classic leave me alone and greets you with a shotgun at the door kind of guy. Daddy calms him down and reminds him that he called ahead about renting out their guest house. Howard is uneasy about it because Daddy didn't say anything about all the people he was bringing, so Daddy tips him quite a bit to let them stay. So right off the bat, we know Howard doesn't know what they are doing. Daddy has a goal to make the film so big and to make it into the home VHS market, which would be revolutionary for that era. The cameraman wants to prove that he can make a porno into a legit great film. The sound girl is the hesitant one who isn't super on board with it all. Blondie and Horsecock are the experienced actors who just love what they do. And Freckles is the one with the big dreams and aspirations. And while they are filming, Howard's wife, Pearl, enters into the plot and she is just really interested in what they are doing. And that's as far as I'll go without spoiling too much. So how was it? I'll start with the positives. The movie is shot really well. There are some great transitions, cuts, and parallels with scenes that really flex some creative ideas. The movie does have some jokes and funny moments that are entertaining, but there's not enough of them to the point where I would consider this a horror comedy.
Well, good luck with your business, sir. I know the railroad's coming through here any day now. That's gonna be big. Streets paved with actual street. Fucker.
Now on to the negatives. The premise is Texas Chainsaw Massacre with more sex, so it's like Wrong Turn 6.
But if you've aimed just right, it'll be pure reflex.
Just a higher quality of set and actors and shooting. It's really not the most original of ideas. The old couple makeup sometimes seemed way too over the top. Like, it was pretty obvious that they weren't really an old couple. It was just younger actors and old people makeup, which almost never beats just hiring older actors. Almost every single one of the kills in this movie is predictable, and that's a big deal in a movie like this. Creative kills in shittier movies will always trump predictable kills in better movies. It may be really hard to give all of your kills the special shock factor needed in serious horror movies, but it's not so hard to be at least creative with them, and in this movie, there isn't a ton of either. And most importantly, the movie is not very scary. It has some creepy, intense scenes, but it's really not enough to make anyone really scared. I have to add that there is a lot of sex and nudity in this film. It's not a quick trip or transition into the horror part of this film. It's a major part of the plot for both the heroes and the villains. Overall, I'd give this movie a 7 out of 10, mostly because of the film aspect of the movie. I gave The Cursed the same 7 out of 10 rating, but that movie had a better feeling of horror and violence that would be fun to revisit. There's not a whole lot in this film that would make me want to run to the theater again or highly recommend this film. It's good, just wouldn't call it a great film. Now I'm going to go into major spoilers, so feel free to duck out if you want to see this movie in theaters. So going back to the positives, one of my favorite scenes in this film is the lemonade scene. So Blondie and Horsecock are shooting a scene where his car breaks down near her farm and she invites him in for some lemonade. Meanwhile, Freckles is in the main house and is awkwardly forced into being polite and has a glass of lemonade with Pearl. And the back and forth with the two scenes is done really well. Fun fact, Pearl and Freckles are played by the same actress, which is cool because they have several scenes together and you can't really tell it's the same person. But it begs the question of why didn't they just hire an old bat to play Pearl? It's not like old women can't play creepy roles well.
Now, who's the dummy?
The humor is done pretty well in this film. A good example is Kid Cudi's nickname. His character does have sex with Blondie and Freckles in the movie they are filming, but obviously you don't see the downstairs action because this is a movie and not an actual porno. So there is a scene where Howard gets Horsecock's attention in the middle of the night, so he opens the door completely naked and you see a silhouette of his...
Johnson. Yes, sir. Get on the horn to British intelligence and let them know about this.
Yeah, the humor lands well. And like I said earlier, sex is a big part of the plot for the heroes and the villains. Pearl is jealous and reminiscent of her younger, more sexual years, and is jealous of the group of people on her property. There is a scene where she begs Howard to have sex with her, but he can't because of his heart condition, and it's actually sad, and you really feel for them. Keep in mind, this is before we find out the couple is psycho. The script is pretty well written with the dialogue. A lot of what the heroes say mirror what the villains are, and the villains reminisce about the time when they could be doing what the heroes are currently doing, and that overlapping of desires, intentions, and current situations works really well. There is some dialogue that is a bit meta about describing the film that the cameraman is making, that he doesn't want to be like the film he's actually in. My last favorite scene is Freckles swimming in the pond and a gator is slowly chasing her. I was pretty sure that the gator was going to get her, which would have been a great way to kick off the violence in this film, but sadly that didn't happen. Which brings me to the negatives in this film, and unfortunately, almost all of the kills are predictable. Let's go down the list. The cameraman leaves in the middle of the night after the sound girl decided to be in the movie, and I'll get back to that part later. So he is about to leave, but Pearl is in front of the car, so he gets out to see if she's okay, and you just know a knife to the neck is going to happen, and of course it does. Daddy and the sound girl go looking for a cameraman, and Daddy looks through a tiny hole in the wall, and you just know something is going to go through it and kill him, and of course that happens. Blondie goes and sees Pearl at the end of the dock and goes to help her, and you know she's going to push Blondie into the water for the gator, and of course that happens. Horsecock goes looking for Pearl with Howard because Howard played the old guy looking for his confused wife act, which works, and you know Howard is going to shoot him with a shotgun, and of course that happens. And this sucks for 3 reasons. 1, it's predictable. 2, for a brief moment in the movie, we are led to believe that Pearl is the only psycho and Howard is just caring for her. But at this point in the film, we already know Howard is in on it, and it begs the question of why he dragged on this kill for so long. Yeah, it's more convenient to kill near the pond so the gators can get at him easier, but this kill seems to drag on for way too long. And 3, it's well established that Horsecock is a Vietnam vet, doesn't trust or even like Howard, and yet Howard stands face to face with him, says confrontational things, puts a long-barreled gun on his chest and blows him away, and he doesn't even flinch?
What? Oh, come on!
So Pearl gets knocked on her ass and messes up her hip, so Freckles gets in a nearby truck and Pearl is yelling things at Freckles, and you just know she's gonna put it in reverse and run over Pearl's head, and of course that happens. Howard's death is kinda and could have been more dramatic and impactful. And finally, there's the Sound Girl's death, which is probably the most shocking because she's been in a few scary things before but never died. Also, she has just as much focus as Freckles does, to the point where I thought she was going to be the real main character and was going to be the final girl, but that ended up being Freckles. But thankfully she did die because she was being so annoying for the last half of this movie. So during the movie, about halfway through, she completely flips the script about not wanting to help make the porno to wanting to fully star in it. So obviously the cameraman objects to it, and Daddy could have helped quell the situation a little bit, but she ends up starring in a scene, and that just destroys the cameraman and makes him want to leave in the night. But when she wakes up in the middle of the night and notices the cameraman's gone, she goes to Daddy to ask him to help look for her, and she says, "I hope I didn't make him leave. I didn't want to break up."
You dumb bitch.
He adamantly protested to you being in the film. The script was set and they were ready to wrap things up, but you just had to bang a complete stranger while your boyfriend filmed it. Yeah, believe it or not every guy is down for cuckolding. He wanted to make a film. He wasn't a porn actor, and he didn't say that he wanted to be in that part of the industry, but you just had to be a dumb bitch and listen so hard to the porn actors that you felt that you needed to be in the porn. And then you're like, but I don't want to break up. Later, she gets trapped in the basement with a corpse, who I guess was being kept as a sex slave, and Freckles comes in and breaks her out, and the sound chick would not stop yelling. And then Freckles is like, "You need to be quiet." And she's like, "I will yell however I want. This is your fault!" And then she runs out of the house and then is blown away.
What a stupid bitch!
Again, overall, it's a good movie, not a great movie. I'm not dying to watch this again, and I'm not eagerly telling everyone else to watch it. And for all of that, I'm giving this movie a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and stay spooky.